Silence, often lauded as golden, possesses a deceptive allure. In moments where justice falters, miscommunication festers, and conflict ignites, silence transforms into a potent and perilous weapon. In these crucibles of human experience, choosing to remain silent is not merely an act of avoidance. It represents a deliberate decision, a choice that frequently aligns itself with the forces of oppression, the perpetuation of wrongdoing, and the preservation of the status quo. Have you ever found yourself caught in the vice of silence? Your voice choked by the fear of speaking out? Perhaps it was in the workplace, witnessing a colleague subjected to unfair treatment, or within the confines of your home, where antiquated traditions clashed with your deeply held values. In such instances, your silence served not only to shield your own comfort, but also, inadvertently, to foster complicity. This essay will embark on an exploration of 5 critical situations where remaining silent transcends the realm of mere inaction and morphs into a betrayal of your inherent integrity. These are the moments that demand courage, clarity, and decisive action, principles deeply rooted in the tenets of Stoic philosophy. We live in a world that often rewards conformity and discourages dissent. Speaking truth to power can feel like a lonely and dangerous path. Yet, it is precisely in these moments of discomfort and risk that our true character is revealed. Silence, in the face of injustice or wrongdoing, can be interpreted as tacit approval, allowing harmful behaviors to continue unchecked. It undermines the very fabric of a just and equitable society. This isn't about being a perpetual contrarian or seeking out conflict for its own sake. It's about cultivating a deep sense of moral responsibility and acting in accordance with our values, even when it's difficult. The journey toward becoming a morally courageous person is a lifelong process of self-reflection, learning, and consistent action. It requires us to confront our fears, challenge our assumptions, and be willing to stand alone, if necessary, for what we believe is right. Body. This essay will delve into the specific circumstances where silence inflicts the most profound damage, providing a framework for recognizing these critical junctures and cultivating the courage to speak out. We will draw upon the wisdom of Stoic philosophy, exploring how these ancient principles can guide us in navigating complex ethical dilemmas and transforming our silence into a powerful force for positive change. This is more than just an intellectual exercise. It's a call to action, an invitation to embrace the responsibility that comes with being a conscious and compassionate human being. Situation number 1. When injustice reigns. Injustice is not simply an abstract concept confined to the pages of textbooks or the pronouncements of legal scholars. It is an insidious poison that slowly and relentlessly seeps into the very foundations of our communities and relationships, eroding trust, undermining dignity, and obliterating fairness. To remain silent in the face of injustice is not an act of neutrality. It is an active and deliberate choice to allow this poison to spread unchecked, to contaminate everything it touches. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on virtue and reason, regards justice not merely as a desirable ideal, but as a fundamental responsibility, an obligation that each individual owes to the collective. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, poignantly stated, "What's not good for the hive is not good for the bee." This powerful quote encapsulates the profound truth that allowing harm to persist anywhere within a community ultimately harms everyone within it, including those who choose to remain silent, believing themselves to be insulated from its effects. The consequences of inaction extend far beyond the immediate victim of injustice. When we stand idly by, we create an environment where such acts are emboldened, where perpetrators feel empowered to continue their harmful behavior with impunity. This, in turn, erodes the social fabric, creating a climate of fear and mistrust that can have devastating long-term consequences. Consider, for example, the bystander effect, where individuals are less likely to intervene in an emergency situation when others are present. The diffusion of responsibility that occurs in such scenarios can lead to tragic outcomes, highlighting the critical importance of individual action in the face of injustice. So, why do we so often succumb to silence, choosing to remain passive in the face of wrongdoing? The answer, in most cases, lies in the grip of fear. Fear of confrontation, fear of retaliation, fear of standing alone against the tide of opposition. These fears, while deeply human and understandable, can paralyze us, rendering us complicit in the very harm we hope to avoid. We may rationalize our inaction by telling ourselves that it's not our place to intervene or that we don't want to rock the boat. We may fear that speaking out will jeopardize our jobs, our relationships, or our social standing. These are legitimate concerns, but they must be weighed against the moral imperative to stand up for what is right. Yet, there exists a profound irony in this calculated silence. While it may initially feel like a prudent way to preserve peace, to avoid conflict, or to safeguard our own interests, it almost invariably creates deeper, more insidious chaos in the long run. Silence becomes a breeding ground for injustice, a fertile environment where it can fester and multiply. Injustice, like a festering wound, only grows worse when ignored, becoming increasingly resistant to treatment and ultimately poisoning the entire system. The longer we wait to confront it, the more difficult it becomes to eradicate. I learned this lesson the hard way, early in my professional career. A colleague of mine was unjustly blamed for a mistake that they did not commit. I knew the truth. I possessed the information that could exonerate them and expose the real culprit. I had the opportunity to speak up, to set the record straight, but I hesitated, succumbing to the insidious whispers of fear. I convinced myself that it wasn't my place to intervene, that my silence would protect me from unwanted attention, and that intervening could jeopardize my carefully cultivated position within the company. The fear of standing out, of becoming a target, of disrupting the status quo, effectively silenced me. Watching my colleague endure unwarranted criticism, facing the potential consequences of a mistake they didn't make, felt like watching a slow-motion betrayal, not just of them, but of my own deeply held values. The gnawing guilt of my inaction stayed with me long after the incident had passed, a constant reminder of my moral failure. I realized that by prioritizing my own comfort and security, I had failed them, and, perhaps more importantly, I had failed myself. Over time, I came to understand that silence in the face of injustice is not merely a passive act of omission. It is an active betrayal, not only of the victim of injustice, but also of the very integrity that we claim to uphold. It is a corrosive force that eats away at our conscience, diminishing our sense of self-worth and ultimately eroding our capacity for empathy and compassion. Fighting injustice does not always require dramatic gestures, heroic actions, or grand pronouncements. Sometimes, it is about the small but courageous moments, the quiet acts of defiance that can ripple outward, creating a wave of positive change. It's about speaking the truth in a meeting, even when it's unpopular, standing by someone when they're unfairly attacked, even when it's risky, or simply refusing to be a silent bystander, even when it feels easier to look the other way. These seemingly small acts can have a profound impact, fostering trust, empowering others to speak out, and gradually shifting the balance of power toward a more just and equitable society. Stoic philosophy teaches us that courage is not about being fearless. It is about acting in spite of fear, about recognizing the potential consequences of our inaction and choosing to do what is right, regardless of the personal cost. Injustice thrives when good people say nothing, when they allow fear to dictate their actions. Choosing silence might feel safe and comfortable in the moment, but it ultimately undermines our character and enables harm to continue unchecked. The next time you witness an injustice, whether it's a blatant act of discrimination or a subtle instance of unfair treatment, ask yourself these critical questions. Is my comfort more important than someone else's dignity? Is my fear of conflict worth the cost of allowing harm to go unchallenged? Am I willing to compromise my own values to avoid a difficult conversation? The lessons from this are clear and compelling. First, STA. Standing up against injustice builds moral character and strengthens the bonds of trust within a community. People remember those who defend what is right, even when it is difficult, even when it comes at a personal cost. Your actions will inspire others to act with courage and integrity. Second, our courage inspires others to act. Every act of standing up to injustice lights a path for others to follow, demonstrating that resistance is possible and that change is within our reach. Your voice can be a catalyst for a larger movement, empowering others to speak out and challenge the status quo. Lastly, silence can never buy peace. True peace comes from the presence of justice, not its absence. A society built on injustice is inherently unstable and prone to conflict. By speaking out against injustice, we contribute to the creation of a more peaceful and harmonious world. Remember, speaking out against injustice is not just an act of bravery. It's an act of humanity, a fundamental expression of our shared responsibility to create a better world for all. Injustice may thrive in darkness, but even a small light can drive it away. You don't need to change the world in a single act, but by choosing to speak up, you take a stand that has the power to ripple outward, creating a world that's just a little bit brighter, a little bit more just, and a little bit more equitable for everyone. Situation number 2, the violation of boundaries. Boundaries are not mere personal preferences, whimsical notions, or arbitrary limitations. They are the invisible lines that define respect, cultivate trust, and safeguard integrity in any relationship, whether it's a personal connection, a professional partnership, or a community affiliation. They are the parameters within which we feel safe, valued, and respected. When someone crosses those lines, whether intentionally or unintentionally, remaining silent sends a dangerous message that your limits are negotiable, that your comfort and dignity are secondary to their desires. It communicates a lack of self-worth and invites further violations. The Stoics teach us to honor our own values, to cultivate self-respect, and to refuse to let external forces dictate our sense of self. As Epictetus, the former slave turned philosopher, so eloquently stated, no one is free who is not master of himself. Defending your boundaries is not an act of hostility, aggression, or selfishness. It is an act of self-respect, a declaration of your inherent worth, and a valuable lesson in teaching others how to treat you with the dignity and consideration you deserve. It's about asserting your right to be treated with respect and demanding that others acknowledge and honor your limits. Failing to establish and enforce boundaries can have devastating consequences for our mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. It can lead to feelings of resentment, anger, and anxiety, as we feel increasingly violated and disempowered. It can also damage our relationships, as others come to see us as pushovers who are unable to stand up for ourselves. In extreme cases, it can even lead to exploitation and abuse. I once had a relative who consistently borrowed money without returning it, each request accompanied by heartfelt promises to pay me back soon. At first, I rationalized their behavior, convincing myself that helping family was my duty, that blood was thicker than water, and that I should be willing to sacrifice my own financial well-being for the sake of a relative in need. But over time, their requests became more frequent, the amounts grew larger, and the excuses became increasingly implausible. I began to feel a growing sense of resentment, not just because of the financial burden they were placing on me, but because I realized they were taking advantage of my kindness, exploiting my willingness to help, and showing a complete disregard for my financial well-being. Finally, after yet another request, I decided that I could no longer remain silent. I knew that if I didn't address the issue, the situation would only continue to escalate, further damaging our relationship and eroding my own financial stability. I decided to confront the issue head-on, albeit with a sense of trepidation. I explained to my relative that while I cared about them deeply and wanted to help them in any way I could no longer lend them money without accountability. I set a clear boundary, stating that I was willing to help them in other ways, such as providing emotional support or helping them find resources, but that I could no longer afford to lend them money without a reasonable expectation of repayment. They were hurt and defensive at first, accusing me of being selfish and unfeeling. But eventually, after a long and difficult conversation, they began to acknowledge my perspective, to understand the financial strain they were placing on me, and to recognize the need for them to take greater responsibility for their own finances. It was not an easy conversation, but it was a necessary one. It allowed me to protect my financial stability, to assert my right to be treated with respect, and to preserve our relationship on healthier, more sustainable terms. This situation revealed a profound truth. Failing to enforce boundaries can lead to exploitation, fractured relationships, and a diminished sense of self-worth. When we allow others to repeatedly cross our lines, to disrespect our limits, and to disregard our needs, we compromise not only our principles, but also the very foundation of mutual respect upon which healthy relationships are built. Stoicism reminds us that we are ultimately responsible for how we allow others to treat us. Setting boundaries is not about rejecting others, pushing people away, or isolating ourselves. It is about affirming our self-worth, asserting our right to be treated with dignity, and demanding that interactions be built on fairness, honesty, and mutual respect. The way you communicate your boundaries is crucial to their effectiveness. Deliver your message with firmness, clarity, and directness, but also with empathy, understanding, and compassion. Ensure that your intentions are clear, that you are not seeking to punish or blame, but rather to protect your own well-being and to foster a healthier relationship. Explain how the behavior impacts you, how it makes you feel, and what specific changes you need to see in order to feel respected and valued. This approach fosters understanding and avoids unnecessary conflict, allowing both parties to move forward with clarity, mutual respect, and a renewed commitment to honoring each other's limits. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, building walls, or creating distance. They're about protecting what matters most to you, safeguarding your well-being, and fostering healthy, sustainable relationships. By speaking up when your boundaries are crossed, you send a powerful message, both to yourself and to others. You value yourself, you respect your own limits, and you expect others to do the same. You are not willing to be taken advantage of, to be disrespected, or to have your needs ignored. You are a person of worth, and you deserve to be treated with dignity and consideration. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Instead of harboring bitterness, resentment, or a desire for revenge, or avoiding the issue altogether and allowing the violation to continue, respond with confidence, integrity, and a clear articulation of your boundaries. In doing so, you not only safeguard your own well-being, but also create healthier, more respectful relationships, where trust and understanding can truly flourish. Situation number 3, the imperative of honesty. Honesty is the bedrock of integrity, the unwavering foundation upon which trust is built. It is the cornerstone of ethical behavior, the guiding principle that allows us to navigate the complexities of human interaction with clarity and purpose. Yet in moments of discomfort, pressure, or the fear of negative consequences, honesty is often the first thing we sacrifice, the first principle we compromise. We tell ourselves that a little white lie won't hurt anyone, that withholding the truth is necessary to protect someone's feelings, or that bending the rules is justified by the circumstances. However, staying silent when the truth is needed is not just avoiding conflict, dodging responsibility, or preserving temporary harmony. It is actively compromising your own principles, eroding your integrity, and undermining the very foundation of your moral character. It's a slippery slope that can lead to a gradual erosion of your values, making it increasingly difficult to distinguish between right and wrong. Stoic philosophy places immense value on living in alignment with virtue, on acting in accordance with our highest moral principles, and on striving to be the best versions of ourselves. Honesty is a cornerstone of that alignment, an essential ingredient in the pursuit of a virtuous life. As Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. This simple yet profound statement encapsulates the Stoic commitment to truthfulness, to speaking with integrity, and to acting in accordance with our conscience. But what about when silence becomes a lie? When withholding the truth allows deception to flourish, harm to persist, or injustice to prevail? In such situations, silence becomes a betrayal, not just of others, but also of yourself. It becomes a weight on your conscience, a burden that you carry with you, slowly eroding your sense of self-worth and diminishing your capacity for joy. Consider the example of whistleblowers, individuals who risk their careers, their reputations, and even their personal safety to expose wrongdoing within organizations. These individuals often face intense pressure to remain silent, to protect the interests of their employers, and to avoid the negative consequences of speaking out. Yet, they choose to act with courage and integrity, driven by a deep sense of moral responsibility and a commitment to the truth. I once faced a moment in my career that tested my commitment to honesty in a profound way. During a team meeting, a superior presented a report containing glaring inaccuracies, misrepresentations, and outright falsehoods. The errors weren't necessarily intentional. They were the result of carelessness, oversight, or a desire to present the data in a more favorable light. However, they painted a misleading picture of the company's performance, a picture that could have significant consequences for investors, employees, and other stakeholders. Everyone in the room noticed the inaccuracies. They were obvious and undeniable. Yet, no one spoke up, no one challenged the report, and no one dared to question the authority of the presenter. I could feel the weight of silence pressing down on me, each second making it harder to act, each moment of inaction increasing the risk of the misleading report being disseminated to a wider audience. My instinct was to stay quiet, to avoid confrontation, to let someone else handle it, to hope that the errors would be discovered and corrected before any serious damage was done. I told myself that it wasn't my place to challenge my superior, that my intervention could jeopardize my position, and that it was better to err on the side of caution. But I knew, deep down, that if I didn't speak up, the report would go unchallenged, the inaccuracies would remain uncorrected, and my silence would make me complicit in the deception. I realized that I had a moral obligation to speak the truth, even if it was uncomfortable, even if it was risky, and even if it meant facing the potential consequences of my actions. Summoning my courage, I raised my hand and politely pointed out the errors in the report, carefully and respectfully. I presented the correct data, explained the discrepancies, and highlighted the potential consequences of the misinformation. The reaction in the room was tense. I could feel the weight of everyone's gaze upon me, sensing their discomfort, their disapproval, and their apprehension about what was to come. But ultimately, my actions proved to be beneficial. The team acknowledged the errors, corrected the report, and the project moved forward with integrity intact. The superior, while initially taken aback by my challenge, ultimately thanked me for my honesty and acknowledged that I had prevented a potentially costly mistake. That experience taught me that honesty, while uncomfortable in the moment, is what upholds the long-term trust and respect of those around you. It is the foundation of strong relationships, effective communication, and a thriving organizational culture. Stoicism reminds us that courage and honesty are intertwined. To be honest when it's easy is no great feat, but to be honest when it's difficult, when it requires risk and sacrifice, is a true measure of character. People respect those who are willing to stand in the light of truth, even when it casts uncomfortable shadows, even when it exposes their own vulnerabilities. They admire those who have the courage to speak their minds, to challenge the status quo, and to defend what is right, regardless of the consequences. But honesty doesn't mean brutal candor, unnecessary harshness, or a complete disregard for the feelings of others. It means having the courage to say what is necessary, with compassion, respect, and a genuine desire to foster understanding and clarity. It's not about exposing others for the sake of self-righteousness, vindication, or personal gain. It's about fostering clarity, promoting transparency, and ensuring that decisions are made on the basis of accurate and reliable information. When you choose honesty, you set a standard for yourself and those around you. You create an environment where integrity thrives, where trust is valued, and where deceit withers. You inspire others to be honest, to speak their minds, and to act in accordance with their conscience. So, the next time you face a situation where the truth is at stake, where you're tempted to remain silent, to withhold information, or to distort the facts, remember this. Your silence may preserve temporary harmony, avoid immediate conflict, or protect your own interests in the short term. But it will erode the foundation of trust over time, damage your relationships, and diminish your own sense of self-worth. Upholding honesty is not always about winning arguments, proving a point, or achieving a desired outcome. It's about staying true to yourself, honoring your values, and living in alignment with your conscience. It's about recognizing that your words and actions have consequences and that your integrity is your most valuable asset. In a world where truth is often blurred by convenience, distorted by self-interest, and manipulated by those seeking to control the narrative, your commitment to honesty can be a guiding light, both for yourself and for others. It can be a beacon of hope, a reminder that integrity still matters, and a testament to the power of truth to prevail. As the Stoics teach, living virtuously isn't always easy. It requires courage, discipline, and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions. But is always worth it. Speak up when the truth is needed. Let your honesty be the foundation of your integrity, and let your actions be a reflection of your unwavering commitment to what is right. Situation number 4. The rectification of error. Mistakes, like unwelcome guests, have a way of lingering, festering, and multiplying when left unaddressed. They're the cracks in the dam, the minor imperfections in the blueprint, the seemingly insignificant errors in the code that, if left uncorrected, can eventually cause catastrophic failure. Ignoring them, hoping they will simply disappear, or pretending they don't exist, is not only irresponsible, but also dangerous. Correcting a mistake isn't about pointing fingers, assigning blame, or dwelling on the past. It's about acknowledging the error, taking responsibility for its consequences, and working collaboratively to find a solution. It's about preserving the integrity of the whole, ensuring that the system functions as it should, and preventing further damage from occurring. Stoic philosophy teaches us the importance of courage, accountability, and a commitment to continuous improvement, especially in situations where staying silent might seem more convenient, less confrontational, or less likely to draw unwanted attention to ourselves. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that what stands in the way becomes the way. In the context of mistakes, this means that addressing errors directly is not an obstacle to be avoided, but rather the path to progress, the opportunity for growth, and the key to preventing future failures. Consider the example of a surgeon who makes a mistake during an operation. The instinct might be to cover it up, to minimize the damage, or to hope that it goes unnoticed. But a responsible surgeon will acknowledge the mistake, inform the patient and their family, and take immediate steps to correct it. This requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to face the consequences of their actions. But it is also the only ethical and responsible course of action, as it protects the patient's well-being and preserves the integrity of the medical profession. There was a time early in my career when a critical error was overlooked during a team presentation. It was a seemingly minor detail in the moment, a miscalculation on a financial report that appeared insignificant to most of those in attendance. However, I realized that if left uncorrected, this seemingly small error could lead to a series of faulty decisions, misinformed investments, and ultimately, significant financial losses for the company. I hesitated to speak up. After all, the mistake wasn't mine. It was the responsibility of another member of the team. Bringing it up could embarrass the person responsible, create tension within the group, and potentially jeopardize my own standing within the company. I told myself that it was better to let it go, that the error was unlikely to have a significant impact, and that it wasn't worth risking the potential fallout. But as the Stoics often emphasize, It's not about the individual. It's about the greater good, the collective well-being, and the pursuit of excellence. I realized that my silence would be a disservice to the company, to my colleagues, and to myself. I had a responsibility to speak up, to correct the error, and to prevent the potential consequences from unfolding. Summoning my resolve, I interrupted the discussion and politely pointed out the error in the report. I presented the correct data, explained the miscalculation, and highlighted the potential impact of the mistake. The room grew quiet, and I could feel the tension in the air. I wondered if I had made the right decision, if I had overstepped my bounds, and if I was about to face the wrath of my superiors. Yet, rather than creating conflict or triggering a negative reaction, addressing the issue led to a productive discussion, a collaborative effort to understand the error, and a collective commitment to finding a solution. The team corrected the mistake, revised the report, and prevented a potentially costly misstep from occurring down the road. This experience taught me that correcting mistakes isn't about criticism, blame, or punishment. It's about accountability, responsibility, and a commitment to continuous improvement. Stoicism underscores that courage is not just physical bravery, but the willingness to act morally and ethically, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unpopular, and even when it carries personal risk. When you correct a mistake, you're not just protecting the immediate outcome. You're setting a precedent for honesty, vigilance, and a commitment to excellence within your community. You're creating an environment where errors are seen as opportunities for learning and growth, rather than as sources of shame and blame. The key to handling mistakes effectively lies in your approach. Address the issue with respect, focusing on solutions rather than faults, and ensuring that your intention is to improve the situation, not to belittle the person who made the error. Offer constructive feedback, suggest alternative approaches, and work collaboratively to find a resolution. By doing so, you create an environment where mistakes are not feared, hidden, or ignored, but embraced as opportunities for growth, innovation, and a deeper understanding of the system. You foster a culture of transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement, where everyone feels empowered to speak up, challenge assumptions, and contribute to the collective well-being. Ignoring a mistake for the sake of preserving temporary harmony, avoiding conflict, or protecting someone's feelings is a disservice to everyone involved, and it often leads to larger, more damaging consequences down the line. It creates a culture of complacency where errors are tolerated, mediocrity is accepted, and the pursuit of excellence is abandoned. Remember, correcting a mistake doesn't make you a troublemaker, a tattletale, or a negative influence. It makes you a steward of truth, a champion of excellence, and a valuable contributor to the collective good. As Epictetus advised, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The same principle applies here. How you address mistakes reflects your character, your values, and your commitment to integrity. Speak up when you see an error, not to assign blame, not to seek retribution, but to ensure that the collective goal remains untarnished, that the system continues to function effectively, and that the potential consequences of the mistake are mitigated. In doing so, you align yourself with virtue, build trust with those around you, and foster an environment of integrity, excellence, and continuous improvement. Situation number 5. Sharing expertise to uplift. Knowledge is not merely a personal asset, a private possession, or a source of individual advantage. It is a shared resource, a collective inheritance, and a powerful tool that can be used to uplift others, solve problems, and improve the world around us. When you possess expertise that can ease someone's burden, solve a complex problem, offer clarity in a difficult situation, or inspire hope in the face of despair, staying silent is a disservice, not only to them but also to yourself. The Stoics believe deeply in the concept of shared humanity, the interconnectedness of all beings, and the importance of contributing to the well-being of the collective. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." This principle underscores the Stoic belief that our individual well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of the community, and that we have a responsibility to use our talents and resources to benefit others. Your knowledge is a tool, a gift, and a responsibility. It is meant to be used, shared, and applied to the challenges of the world, not hoarded, hidden, or kept on a shelf as a trophy to be admired. It is a source of power that can be harnessed to create positive change, to improve lives, and to build a better future for all. Consider the example of a mentor, someone who has experience, wisdom, and insights to share with others who are just starting out on their careers. A good mentor can provide guidance, support, and encouragement, helping their mentees navigate the challenges of the workplace, develop their skills, and achieve their full potential. I recall a moment when a close acquaintance was grappling with overwhelming grief after losing a loved one. As someone who had navigated similar waters after my own personal loss, I recognized the signs of emotional isolation, despair, and a profound sense of hopelessness in their behavior. I saw the pain in their eyes, heard the sadness in their voice, and sensed the weight of their grief in every interaction. Yet, I hesitated to share my experience, fearing that I might say the wrong thing, that my words would come across as intrusive, insensitive, or even patronizing. I worried that I would be unable to provide the comfort and support they needed, and that my attempts to help would only make things worse. But as the days went on, and their silence grew heavier, their isolation deepened, and their despair intensified, I realized that my hesitation wasn't protecting them. It was abandoning them in their pain. I was allowing my own fears and insecurities to prevent me from offering the support and guidance they desperately needed. One evening, I decided to reach out. I sent them a simple message, saying, "I know this pain is hard to carry alone. I've been there. If it helps, I'd love to share what helped me." That simple offer, that small gesture of compassion, opened the floodgates of a conversation they desperately needed. They shared their feelings, their fears, and their memories of their loved one. I listened, offered my support, and shared my own experiences of grief and healing. Over time, my insights became a source of comfort, guidance, and hope for them. I helped them navigate the grieving process, find healthy coping mechanisms, and reconnect with their own sense of purpose and meaning in life. I realized that my experiences, particularly the painful ones, held the potential to guide others through similar struggles, to offer them hope, and to help them find their way back to the light. Your experiences, your knowledge, and your expertise are valuable resources that can be used to uplift others, to solve problems, and to make a positive impact on the world. Whether it's offering a listening ear to someone facing a health crisis, providing financial advice to a friend in debt, or sharing your journey of recovery from addiction, your expertise can be a lifeline for someone in need. The key is to approach with humility, sensitivity, and a genuine desire to help. Never assume that you have all the answers, that you know what's best for someone else, or that your experiences are directly transferable to their situation. Instead, show that you care enough to try, to listen, and to offer your support. A thoughtful phrase like, "I've been through something similar. Would you like to hear what worked for me?" can create a safe space for dialogue, encourage vulnerability, and allow someone to feel heard, understood, and supported. It opens the door to a conversation, allows you to share your experiences, and empowers the other person to choose what resonates with them and what is most helpful in their situation. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. You cannot erase another person's pain, solve their problems, or guarantee that they will embrace your help. But you can control the intention behind your actions, the compassion you offer, and the willingness to share your knowledge and expertise. Offer your expertise not for validation, applause, or personal gain, but because it reflects your commitment to making a positive impact on the world, to contributing to the well-being of others, and to living in accordance with your values. This choice strengthens relationships, fosters trust, and creates a sense of shared humanity. Remaining silent when your knowledge or experience could ease someone's suffering, solve a problem, or offer hope is not humility. It is withholding a lifeline, denying someone the opportunity to learn, grow, and heal. As Epictetus emphasized, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Sharing what you've learned through your struggles, your successes, and your experiences is a profound act of service. one that not only uplifts others, but also deepens your own sense of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. Conclusion. The moments when silence transforms into a betrayal are rarely clear-cut. They often arise in the gray areas of life, where fear, uncertainty, and the desire for comfort can cloud our judgment. Recognizing these moments requires a conscious effort to cultivate self-awareness, to examine our motivations, and to be honest with ourselves about the potential consequences of our inaction. It's a process of continuous self-reflection and a commitment to aligning our actions with our values. We have explored 5 critical situations where silence can be a profound act of betrayal. When injustice occurs, when boundaries are violated, when honesty is needed, when mistakes need correction, and when your expertise can help others. These are not isolated incidents. They are recurring themes in the human experience, opportunities to choose courage over comfort, integrity over expediency, and compassion over indifference. Cultivating the courage to speak out is not an easy task. It requires us to confront our fears, challenge our assumptions, and be willing to stand alone, if necessary, for what we believe is right. It requires us to develop a deep sense of moral responsibility and to act in accordance with our values, even when it's difficult. But the rewards of moral courage are immeasurable. By choosing to speak out, we not only protect others from harm, but also strengthen our own character, deepen our sense of self-worth, and contribute to the creation of a more just and equitable world. We inspire others to act with courage and integrity, creating a ripple effect of positive change that can transform communities and societies. Silence may sometimes be golden, but in the face of injustice, violation, deceit, error, or suffering, it becomes a dangerous weapon, a betrayal of our own humanity. Embrace the responsibility of your voice. Cultivate the courage to speak out, and let your actions be a testament to your unwavering commitment to truth, justice, and compassion. This essay has explored the critical moments when silence becomes a form of betrayal, undermining our integrity and contributing to harm. We examined 5 specific situations. Injustice. Remaining silent allows injustice to thrive and erodes the fabric of a just society. Boundary violations. Failing to defend boundaries communicates a lack of self-respect and invites further violations. Dishonesty. Silence when truth is needed compromises our integrity and fosters deception. Uncorrected mistakes. Ignoring mistakes allows them to grow into larger problems and undermines progress. Withheld expertise. Remaining silent when our knowledge can help others is a disservice to both them and ourselves. The essay emphasized the importance of courage, moral responsibility, and the application of Stoic principles in navigating these complex situations. By recognizing these moments and choosing to speak out, we can create a more just, equitable, and compassionate world.